Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Papa was cracking it. Today, about to react to this Blackie Speaks vid. It's titled Ski Mask the Slump God. What really happened? Yeah, what happened with him? He had some bops, some songs I really love, but I haven't heard from him in a really long time. So let's see what's going on. Let's watch.
Now, Ski Mask the Slump God is a name a lot of people recognize, from being one of the most exciting new faces in the underground back in 2017, to coming up alongside his late friend XXXTentacion, to dropping a lot of very memorable songs. His career has been a roller coaster, filled with momentum, setbacks, and moments where it felt like he vanished completely. In this video, I want to have a conversation about what actually happened to Ski Mask the Slump God.
Sure.
For anyone unfamiliar with the name or face, Stokely Goldburn, better known as Ski Mask the Slump God, is a 28-year-old rapper from South Florida with Jamaican roots. He grew up in Fort Lauderdale, moving between his mother's and father's homes, while navigating life with his 4 siblings. Influenced by his father, who was once a rapper himself, Ski Mask started making music around age 16, while serving time in a Florida juvenile detention center. He was at the time locked up over a weed charge, but during his time in there, he discovered a new passion, which was rap. While in juvenile detention, Stokely met Jose Onfroy, professionally known as the late XXXTentacion, and the two young men quickly formed a close bond. Their friendship ran deep, even to the point where X gave Ski his own lunch as a birthday gift after Ski had just turned 16, inside the detention center. While they were both in juvenile detention, Ski casually spit a freestyle for X, just for fun. But X saw something in Ski Mask, encouraging Ski to keep writing and rapping. That moment gave Ski the confidence to take music seriously, and the rest is history. After they were both eventually released from juvenile detention, Ski Mask started a collective called Very Rare, and invited X to join. Not long after, the two decided to create something even bigger, which was Members Only, a movement that would leave a lasting impact on the underground rap scene. In 2015, Ski Mask dropped his first song as an artist, titled Catch Me, on SoundCloud, but later ended up deleting it because he hated how it sounded. Still, the track helped him build a local buzz in his area, setting the stage for what was to come. That same year, Ski and X dropped Members Only Volume 1, the collective's first official project. During this time, they were both grinding hard, pushing to get more recognition in Florida. They were constantly securing shows locally, building momentum, and making a name for themselves in the underground scene. Later in 2015, Ski and X dropped the second installment of the Members Only project. This release helped them gain even more traction, eventually catching the attention of Florida rapper Denzel Curry, who was already on his way to success at that point. Recognizing their talent, Denzel reached out and showed love, further boosting their credibility in the underground scene. Denzel built a close relationship with both Ski and X, and over time they became tight. At one point, X even stayed with Denzel, and Ski Mask later landed on the cover of Denzel Curry's Imperial project, marking another big moment in his come-up. That whole link-up between Denzel, X, and Ski led to a pretty notable moment, which was the song Space Ghost Pussy. That was a diss track against rapper Space Ghost Perp by Denzel Curry. Space Ghost Perp was the founder of a Miami hip-hop collective called Raider Clan that Denzel Curry used to be a part of. Now fast forward to April 2016, and Ski started making more and more waves in Florida. It was eventually when X started going viral in early 2017 that a lot of that attention spilled over to Ski. In May of 2016, he dropped his mixtape, Drown in Designer, which initially didn't do all that well. It was later, the following year, that the song Take a Step Back started blowing up, which pushed his mixtape. At this point, Ski had built some recognition for himself around Florida and in the rap game in general, but hadn't properly popped off yet. It was in the summer of 2017 before Ski Mask caught his big break. He dropped a music video titled Catch Me Outside, directed by one of the most accomplished videographers in hip-hop, Cole Bennett, and everything was up for Ski at that point. And despite the song's viral success, it actually never ended up charting on the Billboard Hot 100, which is definitely interesting. I don't know why, but this record actually felt way bigger than it actually was, at least to me. Maybe it's just really big in my head, right? At least in the rap world, I would say that it was definitely big, and I would definitely say that it kind of ended up breaking.
I think in the younger rap world, it was really big, but yeah, that's surprising. I would have thought it would have charted too.
Out of that bubble. That same year, Ski had another big record titled Baby Wipe, which came out a few months later, and it was also directed by Cole Bennett. This song also added to the momentum he had built up for himself. Things kept moving for Ski Mask the following year. He had a lot of cosigns at that point, was fresh off of a lot of good music, and career-wise, Ski was doing good and he was on the up and up. While his career was still on the up and up, however, there was one thing that happened that following year that had a devastating impact on his mental health, and that was the loss of his friend and rapper XXXTentacion. After the sudden death of XXXTentacion, Ski Mask hopped on Instagram Live back in June 2018 and reacted to his passing as the news came in.
Well, I don't even know what to say right now. I just don't know what to say. I guess I'm just making this because the information what I just heard was that he's passed.
Honestly, it was really heartbreaking seeing Ski Mask like that. And I think this part of Ski's story is very important to bring up because Ski and X, they both came up together. They're practically inseparable ever since they first initially came up. And one of the saddest aspects of seeing Ski go through this was the fact that him and X, for anyone who might not remember, were kind of, beefing for a period. And sometime before his death, they ended up, being on good terms. And that was the sad part. Yes, they had personal issues, but then decided to, just put it all to the side. And right when that happened, X ended up getting killed. Now, Ski Mask was not doing good for a period of time. And it was so devastating to see him go through that. But of course, he did end up pushing through. He always spoke about how he felt like his friend XXXTentacion was with him in spirit when he was creating, which was one of the driving forces behind him getting over his grief. The loss of his friend aside, that same year with the release of his debut album, Stokely, Ski got 3 Billboard charting songs.
Nuketown was my shit.
And Nuketown featuring Juice WRLD. Both ended up on the Billboard charts in December of 2018. And Faucet Failure charted that following year in 2019. Now, it was after the release of Stokely that Ski actually took somewhat of a hiatus. After the success of his debut album, Ski wasn't really pushing that pedal like he was before. One of those possible reasons is what we're going to talk about in a second. But he did have a lot more at stake at this point. The pressures of the industry always kick in for an artist after that debut, especially if it's a successful release like it was for Ski Mask. Between that period of Stokely and 2019, Ski Mask only dropped one song that entire time, which was Carbonated Water. Before 2020 hit, however, Ski was hit with some more bad news. Another one of his close friends in the industry had passed away, and that was rapper and singer Juice WRLD. Juice WRLD passed away on December 8, 2019 from an accidental drug overdose, something that certainly shook the entire music industry, but of course shook up the people closest to him the most. Ski Mask and Juice WRLD had a very close relationship. For them, it wasn't just an industry connection. They actually had a very deep bond that went beyond just music. So when Juice passed away, obviously Ski was distraught. Bro, at this point, take me too, Ski said on Twitter reacting to Jared Higgins' death. He can't be gone. They keep taking my brothers from me. So this was the second person that Ski had lost in just a year and a half. I can't even imagine, how much that had to mess him up mentally. I think when we're telling the story of his career, it's actually important to highlight both of those losses in his story because, they obviously played a part. Losing 2 of your closest friends back to back in this fashion, I don't even know what to say. But I do want to salute Ski for, actually having the strength to go through that. Because a lot of people just wouldn't really make it through. Survivor's guilt is something a lot of us can relate to. You lose so many people close to you in devastating ways, and one day you start asking, God, why haven't you taken me? Why did you let me be here to deal with all this pain? Right after the death of Juice WRLD, the pandemic entered the chat, and that was of course a very rough time for everyone. Dealing with the loss of his friend and the shifting times of 2020, Ski took a break from dropping until the summer of 2020, when he dropped Burn the Hoods, which was kind of like a statement. 2020 was a very racially targeted year. A lot of things were happening back then, and Ski dropped a song as a response to the change in times. Now after 2020, Ski took a pretty long hiatus once again.
Lil Baby ain't made a song about Black lives since, or a pro-black song since.
Momentum had definitely slowed down severely at this point. And I feel like Ski Mask, at this point was kind of getting a little forgotten, and perhaps it was because of the change in the times, because a lot of new artists had come out by this point. Roddy Ricch is a good example who was on top back then. Polo G was also a new name in the rap game, who was doing extremely well back then. Lil Baby was also another name who was killing it in the rap game during that pandemic era. And the 2017 SoundCloud era, Ski Mask I came up with was slowly and surely disappearing. A lot of the artists who came up from that era were either dead, a lot of them were in jail, some of them were strung out on dope, and the ones who were out, people were just not really checking for them anymore. And Ski Mask was of course a part of that entire wave that now was, quite frankly, on life support. In 2021, after that hiatus, he decided to come back with another project, and that was Sin City the Mixtape. And I don't really know about the response to this particular project. I don't really have a feel for what the general consensus was, but I do remember that, not as many people were interested in hearing about Ski at that point. I mean, to be fair, at this particular point in the story, he had taken multiple long hiatuses here and there, which isn't something I would blame him for, right? Times were changing, and Ski had already gone through the loss of 2 of his best friends. And honestly, I feel like it was a confusing time for a lot of people in the world during those years. I mean, honestly, fuck this entire conversation. I feel like it was a very just strange time after 2020. I mean, can't put my finger on it, but I just feel like so many things changed. And then Ski took another pretty long hiatus between projects in 2021 and 2024. Last summer, he dropped another album, 11th Dimension, which had a lot of very notable features, including the late XXXTentacion, Future, and the late Juice WRLD. I think Ski had a very strong introduction to the rap game. He came up in a very organic way, had a very interesting wave around him as well. And he's of course always been a very gifted and talented rapper.
If y'all heard that album, is it good?
Very genuine aura. Someone who comes across as very authentic and real. That's one of the things I think has always made Ski Mask different from the rest. He's never leaned on gimmicks or antics to boost himself up. These days, however, I've noticed that people aren't checking for Ski Mask like they used to, due to some of the things I've spoken about. I mean, it's a different time now, and so many artists have just had a very hard time transitioning into this new era. Literally everyone is going through it to some extent, right? I think Ski is kind of lucky though in the sense that he does still have a very loyal fan base that cares about him. I mean, he's never really been for everybody, and I think that Ski Mask is definitely an acquired taste. For Ski, I wouldn't really say that anything necessarily happened to him, aside from the fact that he's obviously not as popular as he used to be. Every artist has their strong wave coming into the industry when they're new, and at a certain point, that wave does subside. That doesn't mean he can't come stronger, because really, if you take a look at it objectively, Ski Mask still hasn't had an extremely big record. I'm talking let's say, Roddy Ricch, the box level big. And that means there's work for him to still put in. Ski overall has always been a dope artist in my eyes. Music-wise, his work hasn't always been as digestible as a lot of his other peers. But I think part of the reason why he built such a strong fan base is because he was just himself. I think Ski Mask the Slump God is always going to be good in the end. He's always going to have a name, and I'm of course looking forward to seeing where he goes from here. Shout out my mute, because if you made it this far, you guys can't leave this video without...
Oh, damn, he released an album last year? I had no idea. No idea whatsoever. But yeah, I guess that's the issue, is that people are not talking about him like that anymore, so that's why I haven't heard about it. So yeah, that SoundCloud era, He's right. There are not that many rappers that still remain from that era. Lil Uzi is still very popular from that era. Lil Yachty. But yeah, it's not too many left. So, and Ski never had like a huge song like he said. So I don't think that he became that mainstream to stay relevant. So maybe that's why he has been having issues lately. But I might check out that album. Y'all let me know if it's good. Let me know what y'all think though. Let me know what other videos you want to watch, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.